Make sure. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just. So, welcome to the Results Rules OK podcast. My name's Dave Holland. As a lot of people know, I hope anyway. And our regular events that we do, we always try and bring people in who are engaging, interesting, and do something unique and special. And today's podcast is certainly no different. My guest, Denton Lilley from Luxembourg. Denton, good to see you. Welcome to the podcast.
Good afternoon, David.
So you're in Luxembourg, as I am, and we're talking about Luxembourg. We're talking about real estate. We're talking about you and your career and the value you bring. For people who there are people in Luxembourg, maybe who don't know you that well, we can sort of correct that really. But so give us a background. Denton Lilley, who's Denton Lilley? Where are you from? What do you do? How did you arrive in Luxembourg?
Well, initially I was from Buckerstill in Essex.
Okay.
Arrived here in 1999. My background is in interest rate derivatives. Transferred here in 1999 because there was a need for someone with the expertise in the office, so I transferred over. To be honest, wasn't my first choice, but very happy I came.
So in interest rate derivatives, I'm not from a financial services sector background at all, but you're now, and you're known as the Lux Real Estate Guy, the specialist in Luxembourg for real estate. That transition from a subject I know nothing about, people listening may know something about it, but interest rate derivatives into real estate, you made that transition. How did the one support you in that move over to real estate then?
It's always been the subject I've been interested in.
Mm-hmm.
Coming from finance, to me personally, real estate was always the best investment.
Right.
Didn't have the volatility of the futures market or the interest rate swap market. Inflation protected.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe not to the present day, but that's it. And after the financial crisis of 2008, when you're trying to be trading interest rate derivatives, with no movement, it's quite difficult to obviously make any money.
Sure.
So I decided to retrain. Took the exams in Luxembourg for the real estate.
Okay.
And and now I'm a real estate agent.
Excellent. And I think Luxembourg. Our offices are in Luxembourg, as you know. I know a little bit about the market, having been around in the sector we've been over here now for, I think it's 12 years, my goodness, 13 years. How is the Luxembourg market? How would you describe the Lux market in terms of real estate right now? It's been a bit of trauma in the markets the last couple of years with COVID and everything, but how's the market now? How are you finding it?
Personally, I find it slowing down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
When I go to events, people ask me, do you see a recession? Possibly. Do you see rates coming off 10%, 20%?
Mm-hmm.
Personally, not.
Okay.
There is demand here. We certainly are behind the curve on the interest rates.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty much locked in. The next two ECB meetings, October and December, you're going to see 75% basis point rise. Okay. The reason for this is we're so far behind the curve of the United States and the UK. So I think we're just playing catch up.
So interest rates are going to rise. Any idea? Can you guess where they're going to go to or top out?
Certainly, I would say the short term. So I mean, we're going to go probably another 2%, 2.5% higher.
Right. Okay. So somebody taking a mortgage in Luxembourg now, and I'm not going to do this, but in sort of 6 months' time, 12 months' time, what interest rate should they anticipate paying on a mortgage now then?
Well, at the moment you're looking. Well, it's fixed is at 4%.
Right.
Variable is around 2%.
Right. Okay.
So I mean, the quicker you move, the better rate you're going to get.
Yes, got it. Okay. I remember I bet you and I've had this sort of conversation as well, that back in the day, late 80s, people are saying I was paying 14, 15% interest on mortgages, and I was. But I think one of the differences, just my thoughts, I value your comments on this, that when we took a mortgage out, it was about 2.5 times salary we were allowed to borrow. And now the multipliers are much higher now. So, the interest payment in comparison to salary is much more damaging. Is that something that people need to watch out for in Luxembourg?
I think people are more cautious now.
Yeah. Okay.
The trend is certainly, when I speak to people in the business, be it architects or mortgage brokers,
Yeah.
whereas people were trending to buy a new build.
Yeah.
There's obviously concerns about that because of the cost of materials.
Sure.
And certain promoters will add the extra cost onto you. There's
Yeah.
been delays of buying a new build, so the trend is maybe buying. If you do buy, you buy something old and you obviously renovate it.
Yeah.
Or you keep in your old property and you renovate that. That's, I mean, the architects I speak to, that's certainly obviously a trend now where people just resting where they are. The confidence is not maybe where it should be because people are uncertain about interest rates.
Right, I say uncertainty creates this sort of stalling in the market to a degree, doesn't it? I guess. Okay. And so if I've got a property in Luxembourg and I want to sell it, how do I know? One thing that I think would concern me anyway, how do I know what to sell it for? Where do I get this guidance and advice from? This is something where people need specialists, I guess, but how do I know what my property's worth?
Very good question. And this is, I mean, when it's your principal residence, sometimes this is when it can be used against you. For example, you have two agents, and one comes in and he gives you a full explanation of how he achieved the estimation. The other one will come in with an estimation of 200,000 more, no explanation. Honestly, who do you pick?
Well, temptation is to go for the higher one. I get, instinctively you're going to go for the higher valuation. I guess, aren't we?
That's something you have to be really. Yeah, that's something you have to be really, really careful on.
Yeah,
you have to speak to your agent and ask him how he actually achieved that estimation.
Right.
To me, you have to go on the prices that are released from the government sources, on what the houses were sold at, signed at the notaire.
Yeah.
Because if you're valuing your house on other properties already on the real estate portals that are unsold, you're giving yourself a false market.
Yes. Okay, so it's valuation based on actual sales is the key or more accurate indicator to a certain extent.
Exactly. Especially these days as well, when obviously interest rates are going to go up.
Yeah.
People, there is demand to buy in Luxembourg, but people cannot borrow as much.
Right. Okay.
So maybe you had, just say, for an example, 100 people looking to buy properties in this price range. With interest rates going up, they're borrowing. They cannot borrow as much, so that's going to put some pressure on the market.
So they can't borrow quite as much. Interest rates are a bit higher. What sort of financial products are available? Are they extending the length of the mortgage out, for example? How's it sort of adapting to that scarcity?
Exactly. Yes, I mean, in Luxembourg, you can go to a maximum of 40 years.
Okay.
Personally, I would also be tempted to use a mortgage broker.
Right.
They speak to 8 or 9 banks. So rather than using your own bank, you might find a better deal.
Okay. So a 40-year mortgage. So if I'm not, but I was 35, but I've taken a 40-year mortgage. Are they ever going to get paid off? Or is that not really the idea? Is the idea to get into the market and then transition the asset as you go along, or not to clear the mortgage in 40 years' time, though, surely?
Well, I think if you're looking for property growth, looking for a real estate as an investment, you have to look at it for 10 years, or 15 years. Right. I think Luxembourg is a very good place. It's got a very safe government.
Yeah.
You're not going to have any surprises. I think when interest rates carry on going, it's all based on inflation.
Sure.
So the idea is they're trying to bring inflation down, raising the rates. The question is, when will inflation come down to the target level, say 2.5%?
Yeah.
Then we're going to see the properties gain value again. But I think we might be flat for the next year, maybe a 1% rise, something like that.
Okay. I mean, to what extent? Again, I know you're not an international politician or anything like that, but the conflict, the war over in Ukraine, the pressure on gas and energy and fuel and all this sort of thing, that's literally causing a lot of this uncertainty. How much of this is based around the conflict in Ukraine? When that ends, or will end at some point, hopefully, will that have a calming effect on the market immediately, do you think?
Yeah, well, I think the the energy crisis is certainly taking money out of people's pockets.
Sure.
That's going to affect their monthly payments. They can actually afford.
Yes.
So that's certainly having issues. Yes.
Yeah. So is it tending to be a buyer's market or a seller's market still in Lux? I mean,
I personally believe we are trending towards a buyer's market. I don't see the absorption of the properties on the market going as quick.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'll be tempted to say it might be the case of where people are looking to buy, maybe they're making lower offers rather than the asking price.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Because the thing is, if we look at the real estate portals, an agent like myself will put up sold, vendu, but no one knows what price it actually sold for.
Sure. Sure. So the market is changing in a state of flux to a certain extent then.
I believe so personally. Yeah. That's what I think. I think it's a question of the banks being a little bit more nervous, maybe not being as free with their credit, and people obviously have to earn more.
Yes, okay.
To get the
loan
they actually
wage pressure
they wanted before. Yeah.
So I've got a property in Luxembourg. Let's say I want to sell it. What should I do? What do I do first? I obviously contact you, but what's the best approach? What should I be careful of if I'm selling a property?
I think being over optimistic with the price at the moment.
Right. Okay.
That really is, because thing is, do not forget, people come and visit your house will look at multiple properties.
Yeah.
So they will compare your house to other properties, and they will try and get the best value that they believe they can find.
Of course. Yeah.
And then obviously you have to be ready to negotiate, because it's people will make you an offer. It's something that comes from the heart. The longer a negotiation goes on, the more chance you have of the other person to pull out. Right.
Okay. So as in most things, like time kills deals, doesn't it, if not very careful?
Very much so.
Make sure we can keep that pace going as well. So
yeah. And of course, the more people that come and visit your property, the more chance you have.
Of course. Yeah.
Not every single visitor will want to come and buy your property, which is
no, of course, it's not going to happen, is it? Not going to
happen.
And if I'm a buyer, I mean, in the market, I want to buy a property. What should I watch out for in Luxembourg? Anything in Luxembourg specific to watch out for?
Something I find sometimes a little bit strange, but how we don't have. Coming from the UK, we actually don't have surveys.
Interesting. Yeah, I found this in equally in France as well. But just if anybody's not aware of that, UK surveys are done, property or the whole thing. But Luxembourg, how do they get around that? What happens? Is it just a hope for the best, or?
Well, you can. Well, some people do, because they think the market's aggressive. They have multiple visits. They are scared of actually moving out.
Yeah.
There was an article actually coming out of the UK where there's people interviewed.
Yeah.
And there was a thing that said 45% of buyers were a little bit concerned. They panicked and went too fast, and they paid too much because of the strength of the market.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. But instantly, if the property values in Luxembourg are justifiably very, very high, people are paying a lot of money for property, but not having a survey done, it just seems incredible. Is that something? Can they have a survey done?
Yes, you can. Yeah, I know certain persons that can come around and give the house a view. They can point out what they think could be correct or not correct with the actual property.
And that's something you would recommend? Is that a good practice, to think? Or?
Personally, I would do it now. Yeah, if it's a new build, even with a new build, these persons can come around and look at it in case there's any snagging issues.
Yeah, because it's a huge amount of money. I mean, we've got a property in France we're renovating, as you know, and it's been interesting. And we had somebody look at it as well, but. Anyway, it's an interesting project. Different numbers in France, though.
Of course. Yeah, but that's the thing about Luxembourg. We are a very small country.
Yeah, exactly.
And everybody wants to live around the city.
Yes.
25 minutes outside the city in the car, people will go, that's a bit far.
Really? Okay.
Yes, I mean, it just depends. It just depends on the people.
So there's some real sort of hotspots around, I guess. Then.
Well, that's, I mean, we have I would say three central business districts in Luxembourg.
Yeah.
So we have Kirchberg, the city, and Kloster.
Yep.
And then you look at the ripple effect. For example, Bettenberg, the prices then went really, really high. And the thing is, why is this? Because if people work at Kloster, they want to be close. Yeah. And that's a good way to obviously do it.
Ease of access. I mean, any sort of upcoming areas that people can consider? I mean, I would think, I'm not knowing the market, Esch seems to have a lot of emphasis on new property and people moving in. Is that an upcoming area, or is there guys challenge with transport?
There are a lot of developments there.
Yeah.
Same for Belval, but really depends on the persons, you know. Yes, I mean, to me, I like the areas. I mean, if you have a direct bus going to the city, that's going to add money.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And if you're close to the train, that's going to add money. Yeah. Because the transport now is free. For example, Mersch, that went up. I mean, you can get the train to the funicular. So then you're at Kirchberg, or you carry on a few minutes more, then you're in the main train station, and you get the tram everywhere.
I mean, Luxembourg is a special place, isn't it? You know, we love Luxembourg with all public transport free, and we're only a small, reasonably small place anyway. So lots of benefits there. It is a unique place, it really is. So I mean, I guess really for property selling or buying, the answer is get some advice and guidance and avoid some of the pitfalls, I guess.
Yeah, because the thing is, it is your own property will be normally your biggest investment you have.
Yes. Yeah.
And I would say the people's main concern is, am I selling it too cheap? So speak to an expert who'll give you a solid reason why they got the estimation.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. And about to back it up with some facts.
Yeah, because obviously, as I mean, I don't think that there will be a crash. I believe when interest rates come back down, we're going to see more growth. Yeah. But as I mean, having 10% growth or 15% growth year on year, it's not sustainable.
No,
that's the bubble. As I mean, that was my concern when we had that size of growth very, 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 very quickly. Yeah, that's worrying.
Sure. But in Luxembourg, again, I'm not an expert at all, but it just seems to be very resilient. There is a high demand, there's growth and employment, and there's a lot of strength there. And it is a unique market. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Switzerland could be similar, I guess, with all the cross-border frontalier type work as well. But it is a unique market, in a good way, a unique market in lots of ways, where I think would tend to insulate it from some of the ups and downs. But again, if in doubt, take advice, I think is the key thing, isn't it?
Well, exactly as Mark Twain said, we cannot build more land.
Absolutely, yes.
And that's the thing, with Luxembourg. We are a small country. We're not going to get bigger.
Yeah.
So obviously, people say, what is the next step?
Yeah.
For me, I think we have to build higher.
Really? So it's going to be more apartments and blocks.
Yeah. But then obviously that's going to bring another issue is. Because obviously, the higher you build, the more expensive the land is.
Of course, yeah, exactly. Yes, yeah.
But I mean, there are some trends. I'm sure, obviously, people see this. In most of the villages, you'll find a promoter that buys 2 or 3 houses next to each other, terrace. He knocks them down, and he builds an apartment block.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, the thing is, that's going to be homes for more families. Is that going to be the future? I think that's certainly got something to add.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but density, and this has happened in every major city, hasn't it? I think, anyway, because you can't build out, you've got to build up, and it changes the whole dynamic into apartments. In the UK, there's a move. A lot of people are doing, I think, called HMOs, houses of multiple occupancy, which I don't think that's arrived in Luxembourg yet. I'm not so sure, but in densely populated areas where you haven't got the space, the property dynamic changes completely as well.
Yeah, that's, I mean, that it does actually exist here. It's
Okay.
certainly not as popular as the UK yet.
Right. Okay.
Certainly co-living as well.
Yeah.
But it's a great way for people when they first come here.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's, I mean, especially it was at the forefront during COVID. If
Yes.
you're here and you know no one, if you're in a
Hmm.
house with three or four other people, it's
Yeah.
a great way to keep yourself sane.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. It's a very
And it
good point.
cuts down, and obviously in principle it cuts down on rent.
Yeah. Yeah,
You're paying less.
but that's a sort of a move in the market. You can see this basically density of living, I guess, rather than 4-bedroom detached with an acre of land. Those places are by definition going to be much more scarce.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, the trend was previously you'd obviously build a house with maybe 6 hours or 7 hours land.
Yeah.
Now they're being built more realistically with 3 hours.
Right. Okay.
The gardens are becoming smaller,
Hmm.
pushed by the government, but it makes sense.
Yeah, well, it's necessary, isn't it? I guess so that the shift, the model of property in Luxembourg will move again. But again, this is why, genuinely, it's not just a promo, particularly for you, though I think it should be that. Is that you need to get some expert advice on these things, because if you're moving into Luxembourg from outside, or you're there and you haven't been in the market, to understand these dynamics is really, really important to understand how it's shifting. I guess there's big numbers we're talking about.
Yeah. Obviously, and if you've not got a great grasp of the French language,
Yes, yes,
because all the contracts are in French.
yeah.
So sometimes it's good to have someone that's going to actually explain to you and simplify the process into ways that you know what to expect, what's going to happen, how much cost you have,
Mhm.
and these sort of things.
Absolutely. No, absolutely right. I remember we signed some documents buying our place in France, and I didn't really understand most of them. So I'm not
No,
defending it, but anyway, but yeah, be tread carefully with French contracts and that sort of thing. So take some
yeah, because
advice.
it can be very costly,
Absolutely, yes. I'll let you know.
especially from the UK. As
Yeah,
you know, when you buy a house, you can actually pull out
yeah,
just before the signature at the solicitor.
yeah,
But here, once you sign the compromis de vente,
absolutely.
unless you get the bank obviously turns you down.
Yeah.
If you pull out, you have to pay the other party. Now this works for the sellers and for the buyers. You
Hmm.
have to pay them 10% of
Wow. I mean,
the sale price.
that's big bucks, isn't it? For
That can be
Luxembourg, big
a
numbers.
very, very expensive mistake.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly right. No, you must
if
get.
you
I mean, we
if you're
when
not
we did
actually aware of it.
we did the Compris de Vente. We're okay with it. It was all fine. But there's a big difference. Tread carefully. It is a buyer beware or seller beware as well, I guess. But take the advice and guidance. So
Yep.
okay, so it's an interesting market. A few changes around. You obviously clearly love what you do. People listening, hopefully listening to this, have got some value from the conversation. If they want to contact you, what's the best way of getting in touch and contacting you for a conversation?
By my phone number, which is 691 458 339,
Mhm.
or they can add me to LinkedIn, or they can send me an email to dlilly@housedream.lu.
Fantastic. And anybody leaves a comment on the video below this on social media, we can pick it up and you'll see that one as well. So really, I think it's been fascinating for me to have this conversation. It's not my specialist area, property. Clearly, it is yours. So thank you for your time, and I hope people do respond, say hello, and thank you for what you're doing and get in touch. In the meantime, great to speak with you. Thank you for participating. I'll be back in probably a couple of weeks' time with another podcast. In the meantime, thank you, Denton, for you for participating, and everybody else. Have a great week, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you, David. Speak to you
Bye.
soon.
Bye for now.
Bye bye.